Welcome to Blurred Out. I'm your host, Terrence. Today, we're thrilled to introduce you to a visionary entrepreneur and a driving force behind Black Men in Tech, a dynamic platform dedicated to empowering Black men in the world of technology. Before we get started, as always, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well.
Confidence, yeah. It really shouldn't be no arguments, cause you're now viewing the greatest of all time, saying I can't get better, I promise.
With over a decade of experience as a diversity and inclusion executive, Kham has been at the forefront of driving transformative change in the corporate world. Through Black Men in Tech, he's spearheading a movement to foster inclusivity, diversity, and innovation within the tech industry. Join us as we dive deep into Kham's journey from his early inspirations to the challenges he's overcome in paving the way for underrepresented voices in tech. Get ready to be inspired and empowered by his insights. Welcome to the show, Kham.
Yeah, so really appreciative of this opportunity. I'm Kham Ward, founder and CEO of Black Men in Tech. I'm a former chief diversity officer, both in higher ed and in the tech space. I started my journey out in higher education, and then about 5 or 6 years in, I was like, let me make this pivot because I was at a point where I either was going to go on a track to be a chief diversity officer, sitting on the president's cabinet, or continue to be the senior leader in diversity at a campus over 10,000 students. And honestly, I didn't want the PhD. I committed. I tried to do it. I did it, but I was like, I don't want it. So, I found myself at Indeed, my first tech job as a program manager working, and I worked my way up through those rankings. So, I run Black Men in Tech now full time. I've been doing it about almost 2 years now. We're a community over to 20,000 people.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just all about making sure the Black men have a voice in the elevation of conversation around their experience in the tech space. Came out of need in 2020, and we've been rolling 4 years strong. Over 200 fellas have been sourced and hired through our organization, so I'm really excited about where we're going.
Yeah, and we're definitely proud of the work that you've done with
I
Black Men in
appreciate
Tech.
it.
Yeah, let's dive a little bit further into like what inspired you to start Black Men in Tech, and what was the motivation behind it being for Black men specifically?
Yeah, so listen, I get that question a lot, and it's not, I promise you, it's not to segment the community, but
Sure.
more so to be more inclusive of the community. So,
Yep.
summer 2020 was rough for everybody. Fall 2020 was even rougher in some parts, especially being from South Florida. Man, I found myself, always looking over my shoulder, afraid to go out the door, that sort of thing, because people, Black men in particular, were being killed unarmed. Black women were being killed in their sleep. Like it was
Mm.
rough, right? So at work, though, I found myself having conversations with other Black men. There was about 16 of us at the company, and I always was check in as a part of my job, like, "Hey, man, how y'all doing? Y'all good? Everybody great?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah." But on the back end, they'll say, "Man, this thing crazy. Like, job crazy, life crazy, family. Everybody's trying to figure it out."
Yeah.
So I reached out to like 8 of my friends from around the world, and I really wanted to just find out, is it just the US thing? Is it just us, or is everybody? And it was like, no, it's all of us. Our first call, we had about 15 brothers on the line just chatting. 3 weeks later, it was like 300, right? And it was like, man, I had to buy Zoom. People don't buy Zoom unless they have to. No, but it was all about just connecting people. We started talking about things that was happening in life. Then we
Yeah.
moved on to, what job you work at? To, hey, could you give me it started to expand organically, and that's how we built it, and we've been running ever since.
Man, that's mad dope, man. I've been following you guys for at least about a year or two now, so I'm really
Okay.
excited about what's to come. Like, what are some of the key objectives and goals that you have for the organization going forward, and what do you envision, your impact looking like in the tech community?
Yeah, so the goals of Black Men in Tech is to provide a space and a voice for Black men to have access, opportunities, and education about where the tech journey could take them, right?
Yeah.
So you got everyone from people that are interested in tech, and we call them tech curious, and students, all the way to senior leaders. So we got four buckets. We focus on convening individuals, connecting people to jobs, and we care a lot about our community. I'm a firm believer in to whom much is given, much is required.
Yes,
So
sir.
many opportunities and so many things been given to me. So we are required to give it back. And we really focus on the next generation of tech leaders. So what you will see in our programmatic methodology is that we program to everywhere from early career, mid-career, senior career, and students, right? So we just came back from our Source Summit. Our Source Summit have it happen every other year. We take an international trip. 25 brothers went with us to the Bahamas. And what
Mm,
you'll find is that we worked on career readiness and personal development, right?
yeah.
So that's not, and it's an international trip for brothers to travel together. So what you find in those type of unique opportunities is that we connect one to another in a different way because we're all dialed into everyone's life experience and not just focused on, hey man, I'm trying to get this next job. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, no, I love
Yeah.
that, man. I'm
Yeah.
I'm trying not to miss that trip next year.
Hey, listen, don't
Whenever
miss.
the
Hey,
take, don't let me miss that, man. If you got to call
hey,
me and say,
listen.
"Yo, don't miss
Yeah.
this."
For sure.
No, no,
For
that's
sure.
dope. So what about your tech journey? I mean, like you've
Yeah.
mentioned, like what how you did work with Indeed and whatnot. Like, how has your journey kind of influenced the work that you're doing with Black Men in Tech?
Yeah, so I'm one of those fellas that just fell into tech by accident. I had no clue about tech. I had no understanding about corporate diversity. Actually, you know what happened? So you remember we talked about getting that degree, right? So I
Right,
actually fully committed to the degree and left my full-time job in higher ed because I said if I'm going to commit to this PhD, I'm going to commit to it. At the
right.
same time, I was working like 3 or 4 jobs, man. One of my
What?
jobs was at FedEx overnight and my leader, who was a former who was former military, we were packing boxes and get ready to load a plane at 4 a.m. in
Oh,
Charlotte. And he told me, he was like, "Hey man, you ever consider doing your diversity stuff in the tech space? I mean in a
yeah,
corporate space." And I was like, "Well, what is that?" He was like, "Hey, we got this whole thing called diversity at FedEx. Like, I'm gonna introduce you to the people."
yeah.
4 a.m. we having this conversation. Because his question to me was, "Well, Cam, why are you even here?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "You're probably the smartest person in this building. You got 2 degrees, you got da da da, and no one would ever know it." And at first I was kind of offended. I was like, "Wait a minute. So you want me to walk around with my degrees on my forehead?" And he was like, and we was joking about it, but he's like, "No, seriously." So he introduced me to diversity at FedEx, which introduced me to Indeed and started my journey. So
Hmm.
I'll tell that story to just tell people, man, don't never take your moment and always live in the moment because you never know why you in different spaces. If I never would have met Brandon, my manager that night or that morning as we got ready to load a plane, I wouldn't be in the tech space. So I was able to use that now to move around in the tech journey. I built products all over the world. I did diversity presentations all over the world. I've
Hmm.
been to Europe and London and Paris, and I went to Australia talking diversity. And for me and for where I come from, man, first time I really even got on the plane and went overseas was with Indeed in my first job. So
Nice.
tech can take you where you need to go
Yeah.
and expand you and you can explore different things if you lean in and really, commit to your personal tech journey.
Yeah, yeah. So let's go ahead and lean right into this. Like Black men, you kind of
Yeah.
discussed some of those challenges that we had, years
Yeah.
ago in Florida, right? We all remember some of the things that were ignited through Florida, right? With the Trayvon
Yeah.
Martin stories, everything, right?
Yeah.
Where we're all looking over our shoulder, not just in
Hmm.
Florida, but across the country. In
Across
the
the
tech
country.
space, like what do you feel like are, in your opinion, are some of the more pressing issues that Black
Yeah.
men have in the tech space, and what is Black men in tech doing to address those issues?
So one major thing is imposter syndrome, right? The
Hmm.
fact of that you're probably the only one in the space that look like you that can talk to your experience, and you have no other person to, especially on teams,
Right,
to talk to that end. So that can I do it type deal, right? The next piece is, you walk in and present a certain way when you walk in a room. So having no stereotypical behaviors from your teammates and your leaders come meet you at the door is another function. For instance, I'm a bigger guy. I'm a former athlete. So when I walk into a room, if I don't smile enough,
right,
it's
yeah,
like I'm intimidating,
Hmm.
right? And I can't control that. I'm not happy all the time. I don't want to walk around looking like I'm at Disney World, right? But if you do not, right, you have this certain thing about you. So the way you present, imposter syndrome is another one. And then just being able to be in the space and not be overlooked because of who you are. Now, minorities as a whole have this issue. These are intersections between every group. As pertains to Black men, though, it's just a space where we need to have more voice and talk about it. More Black men needed to be able to see one another and be like, hey, you do this role, I do it too. What's your experience at your job? How can I connect? Right?
Yep.
Because I want to say that Black men usually, not always, usually connect over a few things. Sports is some type of love for some affinity for something they like. And I wanted to provide that same opportunity for those in the tech space. Now, how are we combating those things? Through curating community. We have community events all over the country where Black men and Black people get involved and be a part of it. We have networking mixers. We go to companies and go to headquarters and partner with them. We partner with employee resource groups to
Hmm.
ensure that these companies are understanding the plight of the Black man. I also do a lot of speaking at different companies to help that as well. And we do a conference every year to ensure that Black men have a space. It's not about recreating a narrative or it's more so about opening a door for Black men to connect one to another.
Yeah. Love that, and it sounds like the DEI is super important and
Yeah,
essential to the movement that you guys have.
right.
Like, but speaking of Florida, like, isn't that just something that they recently removed throughout the state? And like, so how is
Yeah.
that impacting you? And then again, how are you using your influence from the DEI standpoint for Black men in tech?
Florida is a bit challenging in a way that we recognize people differences and be able to champion those differences. I was talking to a group of people the other day, and they were asking me, "Well, Cam, why do you still do your conference in Florida? Why
Right.
do you,
Yep.
And I told them frankly, I said, "Listen, y'all can leave because y'all got the opportunity. I was born in Florida. I'm from Florida. If I leave as well, then what am I telling them? They can run us out of our own city."
Mm,
And I was like, "It's on me." And the rest of us to stand 10 toes down and say, yo, we're going to be here and you're going to hear our voice. Like, not in a combative way, but more so like this is what we do in an authentic way, right? Florida does have its challenges with diversity. What we do though, we continue to do our own thing though. We continue to, continue to show up and make sure that our voice is heard. Again, not in a combative like that's what it's more so. No, we're gonna do our thing, and if you choose to rock with it, then you come and rock with it. If you don't, that's on you. But I'm
right.
not going to stop what I'm doing because individuals have an opinion. Everybody got an opinion. I'm more
Okay.
so focused on how we work around those opinions, much like the corporate space to be successful. Think about it. The way we navigate life as Black men, Black people, is the understanding where we are in position and how we're going to interconnect with the world to get what we need to get done.
Yeah.
And that's the example of us working throughout the state of Florida, in the country, under these certain times of kind of like the repel, if you will, of the diversity efforts around the country.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's dope, and I'm glad to hear that you stuck with the mission.
Yeah,
no matter what was happening in Florida, like you stuck with it.
right,
And like you said, if you leave, what are you really saying?
right.
Letting them run you out of your hometown. That's crazy. So
Exactly.
so good. Thank you for making that point. So mentorship has to be like a very important
Mhm.
thing. Like there's got to be such a great feeling to have a group of Black men kind of pouring into each other and lifting each other
Yep.
up in the tech space. What programs does Black Men in Tech have and initiatives to kind of enforce that mentoring to help us grow in
Yeah.
the tech space?
No, I love that question. So we're beta testing membership right now.
Hmm.
So anybody can, well, not anybody, I'm sorry, Black men in particular,
Yeah.
can have an opportunity to beta test our membership platform. It's $150 for the entire year. We're
Hmm.
working out the kinks so that we can get ready for 2025. Outside of that, our programming in itself, the thing I love most about Black Men in Tech is the organic nature in which it happens. Like for instance, the last three people that have gotten roles for Black Men in Tech got it through meeting someone at one of our events in a continued conversation. Now, I want to focus on the continued conversation piece because the job didn't happen right then, right?
Hmm.
So most people go, popcorn or a microwave. I meet you, you got a job, you give me the job, we move on. But these are long-lasting relationships, and these relationships are super important because they turned into jobs.
Right.
So what we do is have calls every month called fellowship, where people come on, different companies, different brands come on and actually talk about the thing that makes sense to them. For instance, JP Morgan talks about financial literacy. Um, LinkedIn and Microsoft just came on and talked about resumes and working on, being a recruiter from Microsoft talked about being visible at Microsoft, right? But outside, in between that, though, we have chat groups on WhatsApp, and we
Facebook.
in group me and that sort of thing where people are continuing, and then if you're membership, people are continuing to have conversation. So they find their own mentors organically and reach out to
Hmm.
people. I have no lie, I have a truck driver right now who has no dealers in tech, connected with a financial guru in the tech space, and now they're helping each other be successful, right?
Yeah.
And it's because the intersection of Black men, tech is the intersection, but also just being a Black man, wanting to do better in life, wanting to have leave for your future, wanting to have those opportunities are super important as well.
Yeah, definitely, and leading our families,
Yep.
because tech is
Yep.
where it's at. So I'm glad you share that. So through your experience, like, what advice have you or do you have for Black men who are seeking that, that type of group environment to kind of grow themselves in the tech field?
I say find community, man. That's the best way. Like we're better together, no
Yeah.
matter what you do. Like for me, engineers, this happened to me all the time. Engineers that come to me and be like, Cam, I'm glad you started Black Men in Tech for us. And I'm like, yeah, it's for y'all and for us non-technical people. Because I have no clue what engineers be talking about. But they are Black men in the tech space, right?
Big time.
So I would say immediately find community, man. That's the best way to go for it. We talk about some of everything. Like the other night, we was on WhatsApp, the whole group just talking about the draft, and it was absolutely amazing. And everybody just talking trash about everybody's team, but it was a way to find community, right? So find community is the most important thing. Get plugged into people. Don't be afraid to share the things that you're afraid to share with everyone else because you don't want to look like you don't know.
Yeah.
Perfect example. Hey, should I counter this offer? Yes, you should at all times.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sometimes people, I don't want people in my pockets, man. I don't, but ask the questions that you're afraid to ask. Find community and stay consistent. If you want to grow in the tech space, it's about who you know, not what you know.
Right.
No, long are the days that's gone where people care about your resume. Very few opportunities now people care about your resume. They care about what type of person you are,
Yeah.
right? Well, they care about what relationship, especially when you move up in your journey from a program manager to a senior pro to a director. It's not about your job. It's about the relationship. So find community and find relationship is also important as well.
Yeah, I love that you share that because you're right. There, at least, and I've been in tech now for over 25 years. I
Yeah.
can't say that I always felt like there was a space for just Black men, and, a safe space to say, apart from the engineering side of things, but are you okay? Like, what you going through over there, right? Is that, what's a better way to walk into this room? Because I'm
Yeah.
always I was used to being the only person in the room
Yeah.
having these meetings, and then, you're
Yeah.
afraid to speak.
Yep.
I remember I started my career. I was shuffling. I kept going to the vending machine because I didn't get to talk, so I needed a way to stay awake, right? And eventually, I just started talking. They were like, "Why does young man keep asking
Yeah.
questions?" Eventually, they
Yeah.
just came around
Yeah.
to me like, "Terrence, you got any questions?" And then
Yeah.
and then next thing you know, I'm the lead engineer, right? Because
Right.
he's at least paying attention.
Right.
So I love
Right.
that you created that space for Black men because we don't talk enough, right? We
Right.
especially we try to leave work at work,
Yep.
and then we try not to bring that home to our families
Yes.
or even just ourselves, the four
Yep.
walls that we're facing at the end of the day,
Yep.
what that might feel like. So not only is this a space for tech space, but it's also sounds like it's something for mental health
Exactly.
improvement, right? For
Exactly.
Black men to kind of get
Yeah.
together and talk things like football. And by the way,
Yeah.
I'm actually part of one of the group chats
Nice.
for Black men in tech. So I
Nice.
love what you guys are doing. But
Nice.
how are
You
you
know,
guys
you
continuing? Oh,
said
sorry, go ahead.
No, so I want to just double tap on something you said
Yeah.
about mental health. Mental health is a huge thing. That's why mental health and physical health are two important things that Black men need to talk more about.
Hmm.
That's why our programming is intentional around making sure there's always a doctor at every program we
Mm.
have to talk about the things that Black men usually don't talk about as pertains to their physical health and mental health as well. We have Dr. Jay Burnett who came actually to the summit in last year conference, and he literally broke the boys down, like broke all the boys that's in their feelings, because it's so important to talk to that little boy inside of you sometime,
Yeah.
and you don't have that opportunity. We try to provide that safe space for you to go through what you're going through, man, out loud. Feel what you want to feel so that you can be a better version of yourself and know that you got the fellow support.
Yeah.
So it's important as well.
Man, that's so powerful right
Yeah.
there. Man, thank you for that. So
Yeah.
what are you guys doing to continue evolving while creating this safe space?
Yeah. So we try to stay innovative, man. That's the programmer in me, a programmer in my team. I tell my team all the time, if it's not actionable and transferable, then why are we doing it?
Right.
Right. I want people to always take things away and move on. So for instance, in the month of May and month of June, you're gonna see us a calendar of events that come out like sometime this week. I don't know when it's gonna air, but sometime soon after. And it's really focused on making sure that we activate all over the country to let brothers know that we're there, and also allies, because people get really tied up in the name Black Men in Tech
Yeah.
and say, is it only for Black men?
Right.
And I tell them no. I said certain events are, but when you come to our events, you're going to get the Black men perspective of the event, right?
Mm.
And I want people to understand that there's opportunity to learn, sit at our table and learn, and come be a part. Like the reason why it's called Black Men in Tech, because when the time I built this organization, I wanted the world to know that Black men were doing positive things in the world, and the narrative that was being put on us wasn't the truth or wasn't the whole story, right?
Yeah.
So now when we talk about innovation, we activating at a few conferences in the near future. We're doing this whole tour, this city tour that we're gonna go to 5 different cities and be a part and come hang out. But it's all about making sure there's a connection and a touch point.
Yeah.
I feel as though once you create trust and transparency, then people will run through the wall for you and your organization, but you have to go and show yourself approved. And that's what we're about. We're about making sure everything we do is transferable and everything that we do is actionable so people can go and show that and be able to be successful.
Yeah, thank you for that. And
Yeah.
and and, and you spoke to about like, it just being there's certain events that are just for black men,
Yeah.
but it's not just for black men. Like, can you
Right.
talk about some of the other groups that attend these events or,
Yeah.
participating in the conversation? Are we talking black women, other
Yeah.
ethnic groups? Like, what's that
Listen,
like?
listen, people that tap into our conference and our experiences understand and be able to advocate. I'll give you the perfect example.
Yeah.
So I got a text the other night. This white lady, right? She's a recruiter at this really cool company, and she came to Black Men in Tech, and they sponsored, and she had such an amazing time. She texted me the other night and screenshotted me. She's at another conference, and she shares our conference. Now, a white lady shares our conference with all the conference attendees in the group app.
Mm.
Y'all need to get down to South Florida in October. Black Men in Tech Thrive Conference is the place to be. And it's like, and for me, it took me back for it's like, wow, like people get it. Like it's not about necessarily, it's a black man event. So should I come? It's like, no,
Right.
they're leaning in.
Yeah.
So you have every allied group that's attached a part of our conversation, right? So you have black women always show up and show out and be a part. White women always show up. White men, like, it's about who gets it. And once you get it, we can move forward the conversation together. And I love that about the organization. Like the people that ask, is it for me? They're trying to provide space. I get it.
Yeah.
At the
Right.
same time, it's an opportunity for you to lean in. And once you lean in, man, you always gonna want to be a part because it's so important. Like we even got DMs from people when we start posting in the Bahamas, and it was
Mm.
like, hey, why wasn't I invited?
Right.
It was like, well, this one was that black male only event.
Got
And
it.
it was like, I get it. Okay, I see you at the next one, right? But only way you can build that though is through trust, right?
Yeah.
It's through showing yourself approved where people like, yo, I want to be a part of this because y'all are doing something special and I don't want to miss out. And I think that's only through the authenticity that we bring every day to the organization.
Dope, dope. So let's go back into your journey and everything you've done with
Yeah.
Black Men in Tech. Like share one of the more memorable stories that you've had with some of the members over the time that you've been with the organization, and what was the impact that it had possibly had on other members.
I'll tell you this. This is the one of the wildest stories I've heard. One that literally like I rarely have moments where I get like choked up in the moment,
Mm.
but this one touched me real different. So we're at a summit. I think it's called the Black Male Summit, something like that, right?
Okay.
And we're at this summit, and this rant is organized by this guy out of Birmingham, and an awesome guy. He a member of Black Men Tech. Love this dude. He always show up. We go and support him, and it's one that shows the spirit of collaboration, not competition.
Yeah.
He also reaching black men. I'm reaching black men, but we support each other, and it's absolutely lovely. So we get there, we do a panel for him and that sort of thing as a sponsor, and we support him, and of course. So he gets up and he tells a story that I had no clue about. So basically, in a nutshell, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, whatever, he came to an event that we did with SHIP in Birmingham called Tech Connect, right?
Hmm.
He came to the event. I saw him at the event. We spoke at the event. From my point of view, he came to all the rest of the events. That was the end of the situation. Eventually, he got hired for the role that he was going for at SHIP. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. He came to an event and he got a job. Okay, great. The story, though, is what got me. So he told the story as he gave me a Lifetime Achievement Awards, which again, I don't get choked up in the moment, but this one touched me because I know it
All
was
right.
coming. He told the story about how he took a role right before we came, and then they took the role from him because they wanted a new director to hire, but he already put in his 2 week notice at his job, so he had to
Mm.
leave. Right. So he dipped into his savings and da da da. And he saw we were coming to Birmingham and he wanted to be a part of SHIP. He wanted to make the change. He was job hunting. He applied to SHIP, right? And 2 days before we came to SHIP to do the program, they sent him the notice that tell him he's no longer a candidate.
Wow.
Now, I wouldn't have came to the program no more. I'd have been like, forget this. I'm
Right. I'm done.
right. He said he had $400 left in his account, but he still came to the program because he wanted to connect. So he showed up and came to the program. He was there all day. He had a chance to meet the hiring manager and the recruiter for the role. He told them, hey, I applied to the role, and I got a message 2 days ago that said da 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 da. The recruiter looked at him and said, send me your resume again. Let me take another look.
Yeah.
He connected with the hiring manager. He connected with the recruiter. 2 weeks later, he got offered a job.
Mm. Wow.
And that will mess me up, man.
Yeah.
Because I from my point of view, I saw it one way.
Yeah.
From his seat, he saw it another way. But it's only through our both connection with Black Men in Tech that that thing happened for him. And that thing, like even now I'm telling the story, I got
Yeah.
goosebumps again. Like
Yeah.
it was one of the most memorable things that I've ever experienced in real time in person. Because I hear a lot of different stories about how people got jobs through us, but this one hit different.
Yeah.
Because at every time he could have just said, "Nah, I'm straight. I'm gonna go try to do something else. I'm gonna go hustle. I'm gonna go make this bread." But he kept leaning in, man, and we showed up, and we were faithful to him to ensure that.